Okay, here we go. So we're going to work some problems out for multiplying. I'm doing that. I need a new page here. There we go. New note. Oh, I want that one. Okay. Okay, so we're going to do a couple of practice problems. So first and foremost, our objective for today for multiplying decimals by whole numbers and decimals by decimals says I can calculate the product of two decimals or a decimal and a whole number by utilizing the standard algorithm, which is something we've already learned, and area model involving partial products. And remember, our area models were our window method. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do that also with decimals. So we're going to start first with our standard algorithm. You guys had a entrance ticket, and it was 12 6/10 multiplied by 1900ths. Okay. So Riley, in our notes, step 1 was to do what? Standard algorithm, step 1 was to do what? Standard algorithm.
Count the number of places behind the decimals in factor.
Okay, so I count the number of places behind the decimals in each factor. So behind the decimal is to the right of the decimal. So I'm going to underline them. Help me count.
1, 2, 3.
Thank you, Jalen, for participating. I appreciate it. Okay, so I have how many places behind the decimal?
3.
I've got 3. I'm going to put my 3 up here. Marky, what does step 2 tell me to do with the standard algorithm?
Rewrite the problem pretending the decimals don't exist. Line up the numbers.
Line up the numbers, right? So this one becomes what? So like 12 6/10 becomes what? 126, right? And what does this one become?
19.
19. So I'm going to line them up like I normally would with multiplication, right? And I work it the normal way that I would. What is 9 times 6?
54.
Okay, 54. Bring down my 4. Regroup my 5. 9 times 2
18.
plus 5.
23.
23. Bring my 3 down. Regroup my 2. 9 times 1 plus 2.
11.
I'm done with these two. I'm done with my 9. I annex my 0.
6. 2.
4 plus 0.
4.
9. 3.
2.
Okay. So now I've solved, which is step 3. Step 4 tells me to do what, Jalen?
Place the decimal, but the same number of places identified in step 1 in the answer. In the answer.
Okay. So how many places should be behind the decimal in my product?
3.
There should be 3 because we counted 3. So my decimal starts here. 1, 2, 3. So my decimal is right here. Now, how do I check?
You regroup the numbers.
Do what?
You regroup the numbers.
What do you mean regroup the numbers, dear?
You regroup 12 1900s.
Okay, I regroup them. What do you mean by regroup? I'm going to rewrite my problem, but what do I use to check for reasonableness?
The summation.
I use estimation to check for reasonableness, right? Okay, so I have this. So, in estimation, what do I normally do?
You
I round, right? Okay, so what am I going to round to?
round to the nearest hundred?
No. No. We've been rounding to the nearest whole number, right? But in the notes yesterday, there was something I also told you guys that sometimes we don't really want to round to 0 always, do we? No, we don't want to round to 0, and like this one would round to 0 because anything times 0 is 0, so it wouldn't be as accurate, right? So here, we could round to the nearest whole number, right? What would that be?
1.
13. Oh, it's 12.6. Okay, so then here, we could round to the nearest tenth, right? So if I round to the nearest tenth, what's it going to be? Well, this is the tenths place. I look to the right. Tenth. What does this give a shove to?
1 up,
It's 1 up, which is?
20 hundredths.
It would be 20 hundredths, so this would become a 2. So it's like I'm multiplying 13 by 2 tenths, right? How many places are going to be behind the decimal in my answer here? Anybody? I count the number of places behind my decimal in the total problem. How many places is that? Right here. This is what I'm looking at. How many places behind the decimal? There's 1. So I'm going to have 1 place behind the decimal in my answer. What is 2 times 3? 6. What is 2 times 1? 2. I have 1 place behind the decimal in my answer. So it's going to approximately be 2 6/10. Is that really close to what we have? Yeah, it is. It's really close. I have 2 3/10, which would round to 2 4/10 if I round it up. So that answer is reasonable. So I circle my answer and I move on. Okay? So same problem. Let's work it using partial products. So I have 12 6/10 multiplied by 19 hundredths, right? So I still use my digits to plan for my window method. So I have a what by what? What's my array going to look like?
A 3 by 3.
Well, it's going to be a 3. I don't have to account for the 0. A 3 by what?
A 3 by 2.
It'll be a 3 by 2. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. I'm going to create my area model. So now I break this down. I have tens, ones, and tenths, right? So I break my tens down. How many tens do I have?
1.
I have 1 10, so it becomes 10. How many ones?
2.
2. And how many tenths?
6.
So this is going to be 0.6. So then I break this down. How many tenths do I have?
1.
I have 1 tenth, so 0 and 1 tenth. And then how many hundredths do I have?
9.
So I have 0.09 because I've got to hold the tenths place. So now I'm going to go through and multiply. How many places will be behind the decimal in this solution? Crickets. Chirp, chirp, chirp. So I have how many right here? If I multiply 1/10 times 10, how many places will be behind the decimal in this?
1.
There'll be 1. Levi, you can stand up. Come on, stand up. Stand up behind your chair. Push in your chair. Come on. You're going to participate. So what about here? How many will be behind the decimal?
1.
1. What about here?
7.
No. How many will be behind the decimal?
2.
2, right? So then how many is going to be behind the decimal here?
9.
Well, how many? How many places behind the decimal?
1.
1.
Well, there's 1, 2. So there'll be 2 here, right? How many here?
2.
2. And then how many here?
2. 3.
3. Okay? You have to have the same number of places behind the decimal in your answer that you had in the original problem. Always, always, always. So, we're going to do this like the decimal doesn't exist, and we'll put the decimal back. So what is 1 times 10?
10.
10. How many places behind the decimal?
1.
1. So I'm going to put my decimal right here. Does everybody see where I'm getting that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay? What about 1 times 2? 2. How many places behind the decimal?
1.
So I'm going to put a 0 to hold my ones place. What about here? 1 times 6.
0.6.
1 times 6. 1 times 6 is 6. How many places behind my decimal? 2. So remember, I have to go 1, 2. I'm going to have to put my zeros to hold my places. Okay, we can't forget to do that. So what about here? 9 times 10.
90.
90. How many places behind my decimal? 2. So I go 1, 2. My decimal's here. So it'd be 0.90. So now I have 9 times 2.
18.
18. How many places behind my decimal?
2.
1, 2. And X my 0 for my ones place. Trying to make those decimals big. So now I have 9 times 6.
54.
54. How many places behind my decimal? 3. 1, 2, 3. Put my zeros to hold my places. Now, what do I have to do when I'm dealing with partial products, guys?
You want to add them all together.
I've got to add them all together. When I'm adding decimals, what do I have to do with my decimals?
Line them up.
I've got to line them up. So here I have 1.0. I have 2/10. I have 6/100. I have 9/10 or 90/100. Either way, it's the same thing. I have 18/100. And then I have 54,000ths. Now I see I've got to annex some zeros here. Hold some places, which that one needs to go up here a little bit. And now I need to add, right? All those zeros plus 4, what does that give me?
4.
Gives me 4. Those of you that are working this out with me, thank you. What about 5 plus 8 plus 6?
19.
19. I regroup my 1. So now I have 1, 9, 2, 1.
13.
Okay, 13. Bring my decimal straight down to my problem. I'm going to regroup my 1.
2.
Does that match my previous answer?
Yes.
It does. Questions, comments, concerns? Okay, so whiteboard work. We're going to do 3 problems. You're going to work at your own pace on this. Oh, I don't want to go there. I want a new page. Okay, you're going to do 3 problems. When you get done with those 3 problems, those of you that did your notes, you will tear out the workbook page 143, 144 and get started. And I will write on the board all the problems that I want you to do off there because it probably won't be all of them. It'll probably be most of them. And I do want you guys to work those out on a separate sheet of paper. And right now I will actually, I'll show you that in just a minute, how I want you to set that up. Those of you that didn't do your notes, you will get a computer, you'll get on Wisdom, and you'll get your notes done. Okay? So, whiteboards. You're working at your own pace. You have 3 questions. 1, 2, 3. I'm not making up these questions off the top of my head. Nine and 8/10 multiplied by 2 is the first one. The second one is 34 times 5 and 3/10. The next one is 4 and 6/10 times 21. Those are your 3 questions that I want you to solve on your whiteboard. Remember, solve number 1 first. I'll come around and check it. And then solve number 2, I'll come around and check it. Solve number 3, I'll come around and check it. Make sure that you check for reasonableness with your estimation or I won't allow you to move on to the next question. So get started right away, please. Levi Payne, that means you too. seconds on the right there. Yes. So now this, though, when you rounded, what is 10 times 2? There was no decimals there. You put a decimal in the middle of it. What was 10 times 2?
Those two was 20.
And 20 would have been close to that, so it would have been fine. You added a decimal and didn't you? Yes. The 9 is in what place? Might want to look back at your place value notes. On the next one, I need to see full work, not brain work necessarily. Does it want all the mental math? Yes. Decimal placement is wrong here.